Proverbs 21:30. There is no wisdom or understanding or counsel against the Lord, which simply means that nothing can work against God, because I believe those three: wisdom, understanding, counsel, those are the three pillars of just about everything in this world or in this life. It takes wisdom to do everything. And the Bible is saying that none of that can work against God. And this came as an answer to a question I had when I was reading about Solomon and how Solomon had an enemy by the name of Hadad. You know, Hadad had survived on an onslaught from his father, David, and Job, and he ran away to Egypt as a boy and then came back as a man ready to torment Solomon now that David had died. But when I saw that, I said, how come Solomon's wisdom couldn't devise a military strategy to eliminate this guy, get him out of the way? A time came when Solomon strayed from God, and as a result of his disobedience, God raised up an adversary, a thorn in his side, by the name of Hadad. And this guy tormented Solomon for the rest of his life, as the Bible says in 1 Kings 11, verses 14. I'd advise to read the whole chapter to understand this. And I began to see that disobedience brings you to the limits of all your talents, giftings, and abilities. All your God-given talents, giftings, and abilities. Disobedience will bring you to the limit. Why? Because especially if God considers you a son, he will naturally chastise you. He will naturally correct you. And Hadad was God's way of correcting Solomon. And I began to see that when Solomon, continued in disobedience, this guy became a thorn in his flesh. Solomon had the wisdom of God, but him living in disobedience could not get him over the edge or get him over the bar with this guy. Because now the ultimate wisdom, the ultimate counsel, the ultimate understanding, the ultimate knowledge himself, God, had come into the play. And when God steps into a scene, you can't shine even with your abilities because it came from him. And it just bothered my mind. How can Solomon have all this wisdom and he still couldn't just defeat this enemy? And I was just like, man, that's scary. But at the same time, it shows that God is also a loving father. When you stray, he will try to correct you. He will not let you keep straying and saying that he loves you. No, that's not love. But in this case, for Solomon, we saw that his wisdom had a limit here because he was in disobedience. Man, disobedience is practically the beginning of the end for us as Christians. Disobedience.